Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. And in today's video, we're going to give you a breakdown. We're going to explain what the home kingdoms / home realms are, what's going to go into them, and then we're also going to tell you how to prepare, depending on what season you're on. But really, for the most part, we'll give you some good universal preparation tips and advice for those of you that have never experienced a home kingdom before, or if you just want to have a better idea on what to potentially expect for how they will play out in Call of Dragons. Now, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you give us up because it helps out a lot. Number one, let's start with breaking down what is the home kingdom, what is the home realm. So in short, the home kingdom, home realm is, for those of you that remember what your previous season 1 was, right? So if I zoom all the way out and we go to season overview, home kingdom is going to be what a season 1 kingdom is, right? It's most likely going to be on this map. I'd be shocked if it was different. But if you remember what it was like to play in Tamaris back in your season 1 when you first started in your first kingdom, that's going to be your home kingdom. What this means is that if you are in season 2 or any future KVK season, whatever your number is, that is going to be showing, let me zoom in a little bit, whatever your number is that shows here for server number, not the division number. The division number is your KVK group number. The server number, anyone that has this server, not this one, but whatever your server number is, anyone who has the same server number that you do, all of those people will go back to the home realm, meaning your home kingdom, which is what your season 1 kingdom was. So again, I'm still in 65. So let's imagine that there's no 3 here, and this is just a 65. What that means is that anyone who's still in 65 has that as their server number in their profile will all go back to 65 once the prep phase hits. Again, that's only for if you're in season 2 and beyond. You'll have to wait near the end of your season, and then you'll go back to your home kingdom during that prep phase. Probably going to be between a week or 2 weeks, somewhere in that time, and then you'll go back there for that duration, and then go ahead and start the KVK, or the next KVK, we should say. So that's number 1. And again, let's go, and I want to look at a season 1 kingdom, just so I can also give you some examples here as well. Now, the thing that we don't know, and this is important to talk about because, and I'll tell you what I think it's going to be, but we don't know if they're going to reset the territory or if they're going to keep territory intact. My money is on the bet that they will reset the territory. And the reason I say that is because there's the possibility that some alliance shells have been lost. Maybe they've changed names. Maybe no one's in them anymore. Maybe they're just shells of their former selves, whatever it may be. If you think about this logically, and let's say, and I'll give you a great example here. Let's say 25KB and 25K2, just using alliances in Zone 3 for an example here, that they have now played 2-3 seasons with each other through KVKs, and let's say one of the alliances drop off, right? Maybe they do a merge and they have to go into one, or people migrate out, and now there's really just one of these 2 alliance shells left. What happens when you go back to the home kingdom, home realm, and you have an alliance that is very low activity, but someone just gets in there and they're able to be the lead through whatever means? And now it's kind of like this hostage holding ransom situation, regardless if it's that extreme or not. But they basically have lead of this alliance that has all this existing territory. And maybe they don't want to delete it. Maybe they want to start recruiting people to come in there. And maybe you don't know if they're thinking along the same lines as you, or even if they want to work together. And of course, we're talking about kind of mid-levels to extremes. But the points stand in that, even in just these couple examples, of that if you reset the territory for kingdoms that are in season 2 and beyond, it is, and again, by the time this comes out, right, when they go back to their home realm for the first time, near the end of whatever existing KVK they're in, or current KVK, we should say, it gives everyone the opportunity to be on a little bit closer of a playing field to any of the existing season 1 kingdoms that have yet to go into their season 2 for their first KVK, after the home realm update hits, which is most likely going to be in 0.25, the next update, right, coming in May. And because you're giving these kingdoms that are in season 2 and beyond this opportunity to have a fair start, the important part is they're going to be able to assess who's actually in the kingdom based on where they go. So you could just basically have it be the same way. Have it be like they have to choose what starting zone they go to back in the home realm, and then you just let them build it out as they see fit. Now, do we think, that you're going to have, like I said, I think it's going to be a week or two, give or take, that you're going to have in your home realm during the prep phase. Is that necessarily enough time to build from zone 1 all the way out to zone 3? Probably not. But there are some ways that you can adjust this. Similarly to how you have when you're in KVKs, right? You have boosts that will allow for you to progress faster, gaining tech faster, right? You have these things that allow for you to progress a little bit. What they could do, and this is just my idea, is they could automatically open all the passes, automatically have all of the behemoths and just everything accessible, right? Even though behemoths can still run on their normal timers, but passes are automatically opened, and then you have an increased building speed that you allow, right? So you allow for quicker flagging. Maybe it's 2-3 times the rate, give or take, and you allow for people to try and fill out or at least have the potential to fill out or maybe not fill out the entire kingdom, but you could say maybe you give them the opportunity, if they're beelining and building straight from a zone 1 all the way to zone 3, right, to get dragon, you at least have it set up to where the bonuses last long enough for alliances to, if they wanted to build straight to zone 3 dragon, they could, right? So that way they have an opportunity to get access to the High King or Queen. In this case, got to give a shout out to the ladies as well. At least for that, whatever that prep duration is going to be. That's one way they could do it. Of course, if they leave the territory existing, I just think, I will just say this. I think if they leave the territory existing, I think it's going to present a lot more problems than people think. And that's why I feel as though if they reset the territory, let everyone kind of start over from scratch, it really gives them an opportunity to build things out in that image. Because remember, in the beginning, the game had at one point come out and said that they wanted this to be more alliance-focused. Well, now they're taking a really big shift and flipping a 180 on the script and saying, hey, now with things like Warband, bringing in the home realms, there's more of a focus now on kingdom building rather than there is alliance building. And because of that, I just think that it would only be fair to give them kind of this reset opportunity to build things out in their image, right? Or at least build things out a different way, or with the amount of people that are still there, right? So that's, again, what I think on that. One of the other big things that we have to explain is that when you get into your home kingdom and realm, right, they have mentioned before that behemoths and potential alliance tech or buffs, right, may apply. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be. I guess it might be villages is what it would be. So it's behemoths and or villages that may be applied and used in KVK, right? So those percentages and buffs would carry over to the alliances that have them going into KVK. Now, yes, we still have to wait to get this 100% confirmed, but it was stated, I believe it was in a Q&A or somewhere. I remember reading this. So it's just something to keep in mind. And obviously we'll look out for it as well for when, right, they may end up coming out with maybe some kind of Q&A on this or some additional information as it starts to get released in regards to home kingdom / realms. But that is something to keep in mind as you are building, whether you're in season 1 now and you haven't filled out all your territory, or you need to start redistributing. And that's something that now I'm going to segue a little bit, because that kind of mostly covers everything as it pertains to home kingdoms, realms, for what we know and what we don't know, at least up until we end up getting to kind of the king-queen part, and I'll probably briefly say something about that at the end. But let me segue, and I want to touch on Season 1 kingdom. So, if you are a Season 1 kingdom, meaning you are anywhere between 373 and 325, my recommendation to you is start preparing as much as you can. Start having an understanding that the game is moving away from a alliance-specific focus. Now, what that basically means is that they're really going in this direction of they're kind of almost advocating without really publicly doing it, but saying with things like the warband system, which basically, and I'll give you an example. So the warband system is essentially where every alliance in your kingdom that joins this warband, which we anticipate, it's basically an evolved union system, but with a lot better benefits. One of those benefits being that you can teleport onto any alliance's territory if you are in this warband union. That is game-changing. I can't tell you how massive of a change that is. And because of that, having multiple active alliances in your kingdom compared to having maybe one mega alliance, maybe two, alliances total, there's always going to now be more benefit to having more, to having 2 or more active alliances in your kingdom. So again, this doesn't mean that people shouldn't now do mega alliances and just have like one alliance that filters everyone in. Because again, it is everyone's choice on how you want to play. I'm just trying to give you some information up front and also give you my thoughts and my opinion on what I think will be beneficial for kingdoms to do. Also keep in mind that the more overall and total active players you have, the more activity pool you have available to you that you can pull from, no pun intended, with filling in for inactivity, replacing players that drop off, and just giving you a lot more flexibility. So that's something I recommend Season 1 Kingdoms doing. Start looking at distribution, start looking at who's active, who's not. Do you really want to alienate people? Do you really want to push alliances out? Do you really care to have civil wars? Do you really care to fight over this or fight over that? Maybe instead of potentially, for those kingdoms that are doing it, opting to fight first, maybe send a messenger. Maybe extend a hand. Maybe have a conversation first and see where you can get. Because I'll tell you right now, the kingdoms that start opting for communicating, conducting diplomacy, trying to get on the same page as early as possible, will allow for their kingdoms to keep the most amount of active players in there, the lowest amount of attrition or player retention for drop-off, or the highest player retention, lowest amount of drop-off, and you're going to be a lot better off than kingdoms who are not doing those things at this point in time. Now let's get to kind of the prep portions, right? So let's say you are... and again, I'm only kind of really going over the highlighted pieces. I don't want to give away all my secrets, but now let's get to the prep stuff, right? So if you're in Season 2 and beyond, how do you prep? What can you start doing now to give your kingdom the best opportunity to thrive once you end up getting to that home realm / kingdom preparation phase near the end of your current or upcoming KVK season? There's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can start paying attention to the end of season summary. Now, for those of you who may or may not be familiar with end of season summary, this is something that happens near the end of a KVK season. There's a couple phases or stages, but once you get to the summary stage, you will be able to see everyone, where everyone is from, where everyone's current kingdom is, right? And you can do this simply by going on the leaderboard, and you can click on someone's name, and it'll say server, right? And it'll tell you what server they're in. Is it just me, or did they used to show merits here, and now all of a sudden it's not showing merits? Oh, but maybe that's just because of the group I'm in. Anyways, point is that you can do that. So, theoretically, what you could do if you want to grind it out like your boy usually does when I'm pulling data up in her, is you would click on an alliance, you'd click on members, and anyone can do this, and you would basically just go through everyone, right? And you'd be like, okay, this is the kingdom they're from, okay, that's the kingdom they're from, okay, that's the kingdom they're from, like these are things I do myself. But that's what you would do. And you would start to figure out and try to get a preliminary list of everyone that is in your kingdom. And I would, and again, if it was me, I would get my data audit person, or I'd list a couple people, and I would go down every single alliance. I wouldn't even care. I mean, maybe not down here, potentially. I mean, obviously, depending on, if they're like, maybe you have a threshold. Maybe you're looking for like 10 million and above, or 15 or 20 million and above, whatever that number is. You figure out what that minimum number is, and then you go through all of the alliances that are like a bill, right, or maybe 250 or 500 million power and above, because you never know where you're going to find a needle in a haystack, or even if you want to go beyond that. And you go through every alliance, and you go through everyone's member list, and you start putting together a spreadsheet list of every player that is in your kingdom. And then, after you do that, you should start putting together a preliminary list. And you should be writing down things like their name. I would just copy their name, right? So I would just do something like this. I'd click, I'd copy, I'd save it, I'd write down their power, I'd write down the alliance that they're in. Right, maybe you want to track more than that, but like I would just start off that way. And then while you're doing this, you're building out your top 200, your top 300 list, because you probably should get a sum total of your top 300 power, so you can see where you are kingdom power-wise. These are 2 things you should start off doing. And then number 3 is anyone that is not in your alliance, or an alliance that you know is in your kingdom, you should start reaching out to those people as soon as possible. And what do you do? Well, what you do is you start letting them know, hey, when this season ends, or near the season end, you're going to get teleported back or moved back to the home kingdom or home realm. And we notice that you're not in one of the active alliances, which you start getting a list together of who are the active alliances there, who are all the players. And maybe you find there's a lot of players that are not in your 2 or 3 alliances, or your 1 to 3 alliances, or 1 to 2 alliances. And you figure out, okay, well, we got 60 people. I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say you find 60, 70 people, and you're like, man, we could fit these 60 to 70 people in a shell and start a 3rd alliance. Or you know what? We can use these 60 to 70 people to fill in the ranks for our 2 alliances, right? Or maybe you find 10 or 20 people and you're like, man, we could fill those to our number 1 main alliance right now and remove some activity if they're active, right? But this requires a level of effort, a level of diligence. You have to go out and reach out to these people once you get the list together and figure out, hey, are they still active? Do they still want to play here in this kingdom? Right? Try to really start doing some reach out and then get a gauge and a sense of where they're at. So that would be number 3. Number 4 is you should start trying to get anyone and everyone you possibly can that you know is in your kingdom on your Discord, right? So you should start a kingdom Discord. If you don't have one, do it immediately. Maybe you use an existing Discord and you expand it. My recommendation is just make a new one, right? If you have a Discord that's mainly alliance focused, I strongly recommend making a new Discord that's specifically for your kingdom. I can't tell you how many times I've seen kingdom Discords that have multiple alliances in it, and that's where they conversate and they talk. I do not recommend this, not only for privacy reasons, but trust me when I say I've been in a kingdom Discord like that had 2,000 people, it housed 6 alliances, and it just did not end well. So having some autonomy, some separation is a good thing, but I do recommend making a kingdom Discord and trying to get everyone in your kingdom that you can possibly find on that Discord. Because trust me, this is going to help you when it comes to organizing, when it comes to structuring, when it comes to sending messages and mails out to everyone. It's going to be very helpful. Number 5 for prep for me is you should start figuring out how the power looks like in your kingdom, but more specifically with alliances and gathering management personnel, right? So gathering leaders and officers from the active alliances in your kingdom, and you should start some kind of a management section or category on your Discord and start hashing out some of these important topics and start having these conversations early, which is who's going to get king and queen? How are we going to rotate? If you want to rotate, are you going to have a king-queen alliance? Again, I'll do a separate video on this as it pertains to like kingdom management because there's a lot that really goes into that. But the point here is that you should start having those conversations as early as possible on how you're going to do those things and anything and everything that kind of has to do with that. Migration, king's mails, buffs, titles, skills. Start having conversations with people earlier than later. And my biggest recommendation to you there is try to include everyone, right? Always make an effort to include all the management teams, which when I say management teams, I mean R4s and R5s, of the active and participating alliances, right? Maybe you don't include an alliance that's like a Bill Power, as an example, right? Depending on what season you're in. Like, let's say you're in season T1 or your season SB2, which is the latest season right now, right? They've had like 6 seasons of KVKs, right? So yeah, you may not include an alliance that's a Bill Power. Maybe you'll include alliances that are like 4 or 5 Bill, 6 Bill and above, whatever it is, right? You figure that out. That's up to you on how you want to do it. But my point, once again, is to start having these conversations as early as possible and start getting your ducks in a row. You want to try and hammer out as much you want to sift through the filth, if you will, right? The mud, as much as you can before you get into the home kingdom, home realm, because I'm telling you, it's going to save you effort, it's going to save you time, it's going to save you headache and stress. So yeah. That, I think, pretty much does it for what I have for you. I will be doing a later video that breaks down like kingdom management and what to expect in the home kingdom and how to navigate that, along with some other things as well that have to do with the home kingdom. But if you have questions, if you have things that you'd like answered, if you just would like, again, this is one of my many specialties, I will say, that I feel very proficient in and I love talking about because I research and I study kingdoms with a passion. This is something I love to do. For any of you that watch my content, you know I have 360 characters in Call of the Dragons. I had about 300 characters in Rise of Kingdoms when I played, and I had about 160, 170 characters in Infinity Kingdom. I love educating myself. I love learning. I love soaking up knowledge as it pertains to different kingdoms and different alliances and how they operate and how they manage and how they govern. You can learn a lot when you start paying attention to things beyond your own kingdom. And so this is one of the things I love doing. With that in mind, that's it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hopefully this video helps. Hopefully it gives you some things to think about and you got the brain running now. And yeah, can't wait to hear your thoughts. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.